So can ChatGPT help teach us things, even real complex type things, and really develop our skills and upskill? Like a lot of things we learn on Udemy, and nothing's going to ChatGPT and artificial intelligence is not going to replace live in classroom instruction, not going to replace real good, well-developed online education like a lot of the courses, almost all the courses here you have on Udemy, of course, where you have a really well thought out plan. But you can use ChatGPT maybe to help fill in some of the gaps or help develop some plans and roadmaps for yourself, and then you can marry up different resources and things that you want to use. So let's take a look at that on something real complex. And can ChatGPT teach us something complex like Python, for example? So let's take a look at that and how that might work. Okay, so let's type in what we want to learn, right? I've already got it ready here. I want to learn Python for data analysis. Can you give me a roadmap? So we're trying to get an outline, or what can we, what should we be learning as far as we want to learn Python? Now, if you look at that prompt I put in there, you might say, hey, Steve, that's pretty broad. That's not going to give us maybe the specific information we might need. Maybe you need a little bit more something, a better prompt. And I really do. I did that in intention, right? And it's going to give me these different things here, NumPy, pandas, all that stuff, right? But you see, it's kind of all just jumbled together. I could actually ask it to bullet point this out, for example, if I want to do that. Let's see if I can do that. Bullet point out the above. Let's see if it does it. I did stop generating, so that might confuse it a little bit. But it's going to, here they're going to break it down into bullet points, right? So that's kind of good. Learn the basics of Python, study data types. This might break it out a little bit in a more easy to understand way to understand what you want to learn or need to learn, right? But it's not teaching us anything yet right now. We're right now at the roadmap stage, right? We're the outline stage. So this is teaching me some different things that I could learn. Or I would need to learn to really learn Python for data analysis and the different things. But that's still not teaching it to me. It's just kind of giving me a nice outline. I had something prepared here. Let's say I wanted this to be more with a weekly plan, right? I want the roadmap. I'm going to Control C here. And then let's say I want this to be more of a weekly plan, basically. So let's say if I stop this, I'm just stop generating. I'm going to put here, I typed in the exact same stuff with a roadmap, but now I want it, I'm hitting enter, with a weekly plan. So basically, what I'm looking for to do is to take all this and start breaking it up into a way that's understandable to me, to give me goals from a weekly plan. And it's doing that. Isn't this helpful, right, to see if I'm on track? So week 1, I should learn the basics of Python, right? There's resources like Codecademy, Udacity, I'll do different, Udemy, different resources, different things out there, right, that you can use. But it's breaking it down by days, during the week, and you can then adjust this depending on what your time availability and all is, right? So this is all breaking it down here. Isn't this kind of nice and helpful from understanding what you need to learn? If I was to take that another step, where I want links for each resource, let's go ahead and Control C, copy that. I'm just going to stop it generating. We get the idea. And now I want to learn, I want a link for each resource, right? So everything's the same with the resources I would need, and a link for each resource for that week. Is there something I can tie into to get that kind of information? And give it all to me right here. So I don't have to go search in Google or anything like that. There's some resources, I'd like the links right there in there. So here's learn the basics, and you can use the resources at this place as a resource, or these are all different resources that can have that tie into these, different types of things that are out there. So here I have a plan, and I could say, here's a weekly plan for learning it. Maybe I want to say, I want to learn it in 3 months. And so that might break up my weekly plan a different way, or 4 months, or I want to learn in 5 days. Well, that's not going to happen, but you get the idea behind here, where I'm now putting together the framework, and now I can use this to, start learning a little bit more as far as looking at some of these resources. In addition to maybe I would recommend certainly taking a Udemy course. I'm a Udemy instructor. I would recommend taking a Udemy course, but you can also, use this as kind of a guide to see if you're on track as well, too. Maybe there's this, I'm going to stop generating here. this particular tutorial here. If I click on that, here taking me right to data camp and Python statistical data visualization library and Seaborn and all that, and you can see you can get some resource for learning about, we're learning this from Python. Again, as you can see, this is nice and helpful, but not as good as a live instruction, certainly not as good as like an online course where you can ask questions and things, but it can give you an idea to, what you might want to do. Or a way you can do that. You can even include like YouTube video links for learning Python too, as an example. Let's see here. Let me take this. Maybe there's some YouTube stuff you want to use to supplement your learning, right? We'll just put in there, include YouTube links for learning Python. Here's some channels that might be using, that you could use for learning some Python things from different people like Corey Schaefer or whomever, Programming with Mosh. This is some other resources that you could use. Anything else here? Oh yes, the other thing is that you're learning, I'm just going to stop generating all this advertising for these guys, is if you get stuck on something, so I'm kind of pre-doing these so you don't have to watch me type on this particular lesson. And so let's say you're stuck on something. So let's say you've learned something and, and you're like, I'm stuck. Can you explain what dictionary is in Python, right? So you can certainly start building these chats out and building this out. So if you get stuck on something, it'll walk you right through kind of what it is and give you an example. If it doesn't give you an example, just ask it. Like if it just did this first part here, just say, could you provide me an example of this? It's already doing it, but if it doesn't, you can do that. And you can copy that code and all that as well. We'll let that kind of keep going. So really, really what we're looking at here is something that's pretty simple, helping with planning your thing, and you can kind of customize your own learning. And this is like for learning Python coding. If you want to learn something a lot more simpler, like how to play tennis or something like that, that might be a little bit easier than what we're doing here with coding. The other thing too is, lastly, I want to put in here, what other programs, you could just choose something like, write a Docker file for Node.js applications, right? So if you're learning other things, I might want to start a new chat for this, but, just as you come across stuff, you can say, yeah, sure, here's an example of a Docker file for a Node.js application. Again, this can be very complex for many people. I am not a programmer or coder. This would be very complex for me, as an example, but this is where artificial intelligence can help us learn complex things as well as, some less complex things as well. All right, so there's some ideas for you. I'm going to hit stop generating here. There's some ideas for you, and maybe the good place to start is just start thinking, what do you want to learn? And then just making it more detailed, right? More detailed and bullet point out, more detailed that you want a roadmap and you want to play on, and whatever else it might be, Python for data analysis. Just the key thing again, as always, is being real clear in your questions and your prompts to get the answers that you're looking for.